All right, guys, I just thought to make a quick video on this subject. And so many people think they can buy an engine on Craigslist and that's going to be the answer to everything. And years ago, I have to kind of back you guys up a little bit. Years ago, because a lot of us are older, you think, oh, things are the way they used to be or whatever, but they aren't. When you went to buy an engine on Craigslist or somewhere, you out of 1 out of 3, you'd have a bad case. That was pretty much the numbers back years ago. And you check the engine, and you find out, that the case was bad. So it wasn't that much of a risk. And back then, if it was like $75. You could go get a brand new case. Same thing if the crank was no good. You could just go ahead and grab yourself a new crank. I think they were like $30 or something like that for a brand new one back in the day. So, all people have that in their head. The older guys think, oh well, they're just cheap. They're back. Maybe you're just getting into VWs or something like that, and they think, well, it's like it's just like it used to be. Which it is not like it used to be, and this is the thing you need to know. So, like for instance, I bought this motor a while back. I bought a buggy with this motor in it. I just tore it all down, and I thought, well, I thought the case was good because I thought, it didn't leak oil. It didn't have any issues there, and I knew the motor was wore out because I barely made it back to the shop here before I was just like, hey man, I think this thing's about to blow up. So, but you go to tear them down now, and they've been rebuilt so many times that the line borer here has been bored so many times that it can only go so far before you can't get bearings for it anymore, or your bearings are like this thick, 1/4 inch thick or something, and it's just not a good engine to build. So usually it's the case that you just can't get the bearings for it because they're just too it's just oversized. It's wore out. There's nothing left. So a brand new cases are for mag cases, what, 750 or so, something like that, $750. And or I just spend the extra 100 and get the aluminum, which is probably where I'm at right now. But what you think is, people think, well, God, if I get this motor on Craigslist for $600, or whatever, I'll just rebuild it and I'll put it in my car. Before you go do that, this is the reality of it. More than likely, it's like about 1 out of 10 motors that you take apart, you're going to get a good case. That's the kind of numbers we're looking at, because these are very old cars. They're very, very old. I mean, so the issues you run into are, it's got major erosion. This one doesn't here, but they'll have major erosion from water sitting in it. You'll have stuff like the thrust cuts, or it's been done too many times, and if I had the bearing here, I did. Just a second. Anyway, I was going to show you that. But thrust cut, the bearing, you can see it's really thick when you go to take it out. It's been line bored too many times, and it's just opened up too far, and or it's cracked. So, the chances are of getting a good case are pretty slim. It is and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, know what you're getting into. When you go to buy the Craigslist motor, maybe if probably you might have a good chance that it's not going to be able to be rebuilt. So let's say you paid $600 for it. What are you going to get that's worth $600? If it's got fall of tin on it, and it's got like, it has all the outside parts on it, alternator, generator, all that stuff, then maybe it might be, worth what you're paying. You got to make sure you're going to be able to get your money back somewhere, because you might have this is actually case is actually okay for another, cheap rebuild. If I was going to just do a bearings, I could probably put bearings in here. It's actually, when I run my finger across here, I don't feel anything. So it's actually probably rebuildable without doing a line bore. but it's on its last line bore. So, you know, for me to do you know, open this up and put big cylinders in it and put a big crank in it, it's just not the candidate for that. So to do that, let's say I was going to go with a 78 and build a motor with this, you know, I pay all that money for the machine work to get the case opened up, and, you know, it's only going to go one rebuild, and then I'm putting a bigger crank in it and it's got really thick bearings. So it's just not the right motor for it. But it's okay to do a quick rebuild, you know, for regular 1600, you know, or something like that. So if you're looking at it from that respect, you might end up okay, but you know, you kind of need to know what you're getting into. More than likely, you're going to have you know, a situation that, you know, you're going to have a bunch of junk. So like, for instance, this crank here that was in it, it's a, you know, it's a 2020 crank. You know, back years ago, if a crank was, that's a brand new one there, but if a crank was 1010, we'd toss it. We wouldn't even rebuild it. We would only take a crank to 1010, and now we're going to 2020 all the time, and then, you know, and all that. So, you know, this one's already 2020, so it's pretty much trash, you know. So, and one of the rods is no good. So, you know, that Craigslist motor, I'm just trying to get you guys to get on the right direction. If you're thinking that's going to be your savior, you know, you're really rolling the dice. You really just don't know. I've gotten a couple of them, you know, where I got it for like $200 and I tear it apart and everything's brand new inside, you know. And then you know, it wouldn't turn over because the cylinders were like frozen, you know, and it sat outside, and I was just lucky that it wasn't eroded away. It had some erosion in the case from water, but it wasn't totally eroded away, and everything was brand new, you know, and it was opened up for 90.5 cylinders. So, I mean, I've gotten lucky on a few, but a lot of times you're not going to be lucky. And if you're kind of gambling thinking that you're going to be lucky, I just want to let you know, probably, you know, don't get your hopes up too high. So anyway, you know, we're going to be doing the motor build here coming up. I'm hoping it's going to work out. I got to figure everything out right now, but I'm probably going to have to go aluminum case because I just don't know if I have a good enough case that I want to run. I mean, I got a single relief. I'm not going to run that. You know, I got a couple others that aren't very good. You know, and that's the kind of thing you might end up with too. You might end up with a single relief case, or it doesn't have the openings for 2 springs in the front and rear. And if you get that, then, you know, that's not a really good motor. I mean, it might be okay for like building a 1600 or something, just to cruise around, 16 single, something to keep you running. But if you're talking about, you know, trying to do something performance, even a mild performance, not a good case for that. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you guys know. I mean, the pickings are slim. It's not like it was. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.